Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh, yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the morning grind. Welcome to the office. I'm Heath. I'll be your host. We're going to be talking more about the Screenwriter's Bible today in preparation for NaNoWriMo, which is now coming up in roughly 2 weeks. And I think a lot of us are going to be participating. I know I am. I've been up this morning trying to work on getting a few things done, final preparations, because tomorrow Goodnight Sword is launching on Indiegogo. So if you did not get a copy of Goodnight Sword and you would like one, or have one, like to give one as a Christmas gift, this is, of course, my takeoff on Goodnight Moon, set in the world of Rabavania. And it's a Goodnight Sword, but with a fantasy medieval twist that I think so many people will like. So tomorrow morning on the morning grind, we're going to be launching Goodnight Sword on Indiegogo, and also drawing for the free book. Let me put in this in the chat, the link here. If you have not signed up, please click the link here and then get involved. You'll get a free ebook right there, but then also tomorrow morning we'll use random.org, draw an email address from the list, and then get a free copy of the book. And then anybody else who has not gotten a hard copy and who would like one, it will be on Indiegogo. It's going to be a short campaign, maybe about 2 weeks. like 2 weeks, we'll open the Indiegogo, then take any pledges for the books, and then we will get them out. So you should have them in time for Christmas. So that's what's going on. And also, I lost a bunch of work regarding the Christmas story as far as the graphic goes. That's my fault. Had a crash and hadn't saved. So I was rebuilding some of that this morning so I can get a Kickstarter up. We're going to bring the Christmas story to Kickstarter, which I am now thinking that I will entitle The Trial of Saint Gabriel. So that's what's going on over here. I've been going back to the beginning. Like Brianna and I have talked about this, going back to what was the original ideas, getting back to that. And every day I seem like I go a bit further back in that direction. And it seems good. Yesterday, I didn't get as much work done over the weekend as I really wanted to. But starting yesterday evening and then today, I feel like I'm getting back to work. I've been off of my schedule for months. Excuse me. All right. Let's see. Hey, BGD. Good morning, BGD. Good morning, James. Good morning, Lynn. Lynn has a terrible report here. Good morning. No, I haven't fallen off the face of the earth. My husband has been in the hospital for emergency surgery, and life has been a bit busy. Oh, no, I am very sorry to hear about that. Don't know how long I can hang around today. I hope he's going to be all right. Zero the Blade. Good morning, Zero the Blade. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Multiverse. For NaNoWriMo, I settled on the Sanderson outline for my story. I hope to have it completed by the end of the day today. Oh, that would be great. I'm working on taking care of projects one by one. So at the moment, let's see, what have I got here? Goodnight Sword Indiegogo. Got to get that up and ready and launched. Then Goodnight, the Christmas story, The Trial of St. Gabriel. Edit World Primer for Rapavania, and then next up is Script, which I'm gonna have to work around because it's not something that immediately can be turned around to a Kickstarter or something like that. But that's the long term. That's an important long term project that I've been struggling with for too long. So it is time to get this written. And it was nice. It was actually nice to have a break on Rapavania with writing The Trial of St. Gabriel, because I do the angels and the rabbits, and I've been working with the rabbits for a long time. I feel like I have not gotten to where I want to be on that. So it was nice to be able to sit down and work on Christmas story with the angels. Good morning, PH. Good morning. James says, I've been going one at a time myself. It's better for me to see the finished jobs piling up than to have a bunch of plates in the air all at once. Yeah, I know. I always go back and forth on that, because the one strategy is, work a couple of hours a day on everything, just a little bit every day, but then on the other hand, it doesn't get done. So it's like, all right, is there anything that needs to be done when I'm looking at this on the subject of preparing for the Indiegogo Goodnight Sword Kickstarter, Indiegogo campaign? If there is, then I got to do it. And then only once everything that is done that I can do on that, then move back down to the Christmas story. And is there anything I can do here on that? I got to get some table talk stuff ready. I have not been doing that lately, but I think, in the afternoon, I'm typically low energy. And if I'm working on my schedule, I can do things like the table talk, organize the table talk live streams and things like that in the afternoons. That's kind of my plan here. All right, let's go ahead and do our reading. We're going to do Breathe and Sip, and we're going to do our reading in The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. It's been helping me out, giving me something to focus on and think about for the day. So let's go ahead and go share screen. Here we go. So got the coffee this morning. I got coffee. So let's breathe and sip. Let's take a sip, or take 2 deep breaths, complete inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage this morning. So here we go. And sip. All right, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. We just read How to Be Miserable yesterday. So we're all pros already. All of us are pros in one area, our jobs. We get a paycheck. We work for money. We are professionals. Now, are there principles we can take from that we're already successfully doing in our workaday life and apply them to our artistic aspirations? What exactly are the qualities that define us as professionals? 1, we show up every day. We might do it only because we have to keep from getting fired, but we do it. We show up every day. 2, we show up no matter what. In sickness and in health, come hell or high water, we stagger into the factory. We might do it only so as not to let down our coworkers or for other less noble reasons. But we do it. We show up no matter what. 3, we stay on the job all day. Our minds may wander, but our bodies remain at the wheel. We pick up the phone when it rings. We assist the customer when he seeks our help. We don't go home until the whistle blows. 4, we are committed over the long haul. Next year, we may go to another job, another company, another country, but we'll still be working. Until we hit the lottery, we're part of the labor force. 5, the stakes for us are high and real. This is about survival, feeding our families, educating our children. It's about eating. 6, we accept remuneration for our labor. We're not here for fun. We work for money. 7, we do not over-identify with our jobs. We may take pride in our work and we may stay late and come in on weekends, but we recognize that that we are not our job descriptions. The amateur, on the other hand, over-identifies with his avocation, his artistic aspiration. He defines himself by it. He is a musician, a painter, a playwright. Resistance loves this. Resistance knows that the amateur composer will never write his symphony because he is overly invested in its success and overly terrified by its failure. The amateur takes it so seriously, it paralyzes him. I like that a lot. Let's say that again. Resistance knows that the amateur composer will never write his symphony because he is overly invested in its success and over terrified of its failure. The amateur takes it so seriously, it paralyzes him. 8, we must master the technique of our jobs. 9, we must have a sense of humor about our jobs. 10, we receive praise or blame in the real world. Now consider the amateur, the aspiring painter, the wannabe playwright. How does he pursue his calling? Good morning, JDN, JDM. Oh, and hey, Sable. 1, he doesn't show up every day. So this is the amateur. 1, he doesn't show up every day. 2, he doesn't show up no matter what. 3, he doesn't stay on the job all day. He is not committed over the long haul. The stakes for him are illusory and fake. He does not get money. He over-identifies with his art. He does not have a sense of humor about failure. You don't hear him bitching, "This fucking trilogy is killing me." Instead, he doesn't write the trilogy at all. The amateur has not mastered the technique of his art, nor does he expose himself to judgment in the real world. If we show our poem to our friend and our friend says, "That's wonderful, I love it," that's not real-world feedback. That's our friend being nice to us. Nothing is as empowering as real-world validation, even if it's for failure. The first professional writing job I ever had, after 17 years of trying, was on a movie called King Kong Lives. I and my partner at the time, Ron Shusett, a brilliant writer and producer who did Alien and Total Recall, hammered out the screenplay for Dino De Laurentiis. We loved it. We were sure we had a hit. Even after we'd seen the finished film, we were certain it was a blockbuster. We even invited everyone we know to the premiere, even rented out the joint next door for a post-triumph blowout. Get there early, we warned our friends. The place will be mobbed. Nobody showed. There was one guy in the line beside our guests, and he was muttering something about spare change. In the theater, our friends endured the movie in mute stupefaction. When the lights came up, they fled like cockroaches into the night. Next day came the review in Variety. Ronald Shusett and Stephen Pressfield. We hope these are not their real names for their parents' sake. When the first week's grosses came out, the flick barely registered. Still, I clung to hope. Maybe it's only tanking in urban areas. Maybe it's playing better in the burbs. I motored into an edge city multiplex. A youth manned the popcorn booth. "How's King Kong Lives?" I asked. He flashed thumbs down. "Miss it, man. It sucks." I was crushed. Here I was, 42 years old, divorced, childless, having given up normal human pursuits to chase the dream of being a writer. Now I've finally got my name on a big-time Hollywood production starring Linda Hamilton, and guess what happens? I'm a loser, a phony. My life is worthless, and so am I. My friend Tony Keppelman snapped me out of it by asking if I was going to quit. Hell no. Then be happy. You're where you wanted to be, aren't you? You've got to so you've taken a few blows. That's the price for being in the arena and not on the sideline. Stop complaining and be grateful. That's when I realized I'd become a pro. I had not yet had a success, but I had had a real failure. James says this juxtaposition he does between the amateur against the professional is important information to crack through and get people writing. You can't be so uncommitted or afraid of criticism. The first 2 rules of writing are sit down and write. First 3 rules. All right, so that is our inspiration for today. Let's see. All right, let's go over here. Let's go auxiliary camera. We are still taking a look at script writing and screenwriting and talking about it. This has generated some great conversations. We had some great conversations about this. So let's keep going here. This is the Screenwriter's Bible, which it turns out I had not actually finished, but I had meant to. This is one of the first books I got. It's one of the first books that many people recommend specifically on the subject of screenwriting. It's got a lot of great information. We are still talking about story in here, but then it also goes into things about a workbook for your story, the format for your story. There's a book two. What it calls book 2 here is writing and revising scenes, a script consultant's view. But in preparation for NaNoWriMo, at least, we're talking about how to write a screenplay. What's our first step here? All right, so let's see where we were. I believe we were talking about over here. We were talking about the plot, and we were talking about different kinds of plot. We've got the character grows by doing things right. I think that's the last thing we talked about. The character grows up. I believe that's where we were. It says here the character comes of age while striving for one or more goals that are either achieved or not achieved. Let me see if I can get my secondary camera, or actually my primary camera. Oh, James says, oh, that's great. Oh, speaking of tabletop, so James says, where is my camera stuff? I got so many windows open. Can't even tell what's going on here. Well, whatever. James says, I have a potential interviewee for Table Talk. She literally just had a second child last week ago, so it'll be several weeks before she's available. But she founded the Drunken Film Festival in the UK, which spilled over to the East Coast here in the States. Oh, that would be great. Yeah, that would be great. I have got to actually contact somebody else about Table Talk as well, because I've got somebody who's interested in also helping with it. So I've been trying to talk to Brianna about being an associate producer, basically on Dinner and a Board Game and Table Talk. And so we're going to work for the first time on that on Wednesday afternoon. But I've got somebody else I've got to talk to about helping out with the administration of Table Talk, which includes scheduling and booking guests. So I've got to do that. I just have not, because I've been trying to get these two, the Indiegogo and the Kickstarter, underway. James says she's written screenplays and she's taught university classes on screenwriting. Awesome. Yes, that's exactly the kind of person we need. So hopefully, I want to bring this other person on to help administer Table Talk, so that people can be setting it up, so that we can go Tuesdays and hopefully Thursdays as well. And I got to look at what we're supposed to be doing tomorrow. In fact, this is a good time to do that before we get into this. What is our Table Talk supposed to be tomorrow? And have I even scheduled it, or do I need to? Oh, 17th. Brianna is supposed to be here. and we're supposed to do Donnie Darko, which I've never seen, which means I have to watch. I need to confirm with everybody that we're good for that one. But that's what's on the list before I make up the thumbnail and stuff. Good morning, Stray. So the character grows up. Here, the character comes of age while... Whoa, I just nearly knocked over my coffee. Here, the character comes of age while striving for one or more goals that either are achieved or not achieved. It doesn't matter which. We don't really care whether the boys are first to find the body and Stand By Me. What we care about is the relationship and growth of the boys. The goal is only there to give the relationship a track to roll on. In some character-driven stories, the goal may change, and that's fine as long as the conflict intensifies and rises to a crisis and showdown. Here are more examples of characters growing up. Good Will Hunting, Juno, 8th grade, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Risky Business, Hook, Peter Pan grows up. Breaking Away, Platoon, American Graffiti, and Tao in Gran Torino. Pendergrass, Robert Duvall in Falling Down comes of age even though he's a middle-aged man. In Unbreakable, David Dunn grows from a mere mortal bad husband and not-so-great father to a somewhat superhero. In a sense, Peter Parker, the central character in Spider-Man 2, comes of age by affirming his identity as Spider-Man. However, this could also be seen as a character learns plot. Let's look at that next. The character learns. James says Donnie Darko is great. I know nothing about it. This was a Brianna recommendation. I know nothing about it. I got to make sure we're on that. In a sense, okay, so the character learns. Here, the character learns what he or she needs to be happy. George Bailey realizes he has a wonderful life, and it's a wonderful life. Bishop Henry Brougham learns what's important in life in the bishop's wife, and that the people of the cathedral are more important than the cathedral itself. Wish I could center my camera, but I have to find my camera controls in this freaking... My computer is always an exercise in how many windows can I possibly have open. I don't even know. James says, Donnie Darko takes a severe left turn, and I had to watch it multiple times because I was sorely underprepared for the themes and messaging it was communicating. Well, that's interesting. Once you wrap your head around it, though, I got a gut punch and a lot of intellectual turning over to do. Oh, well, that sounds like that's probably why she's recommending it. Sounds exciting. In The Green Mile, Paul learns that everyone must walk his own green mile. This knowledge does not necessarily make him happy, but it deepens his character and his appreciation for life. Jill learns in Midnight in Paris that he and most everyone else thinks of a past epic in time as the most romantic or desirable. When visiting a past era, he realizes these people have no antibiotics. Maybe modern-day Paris is more desirable than he had once thought. In The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy finds there's no place like home. She achieves the goal of returning to Kansas. An argument could be made that the main plot is a character wins plot, and the realization of her need is merely a subplot that supports the goal. Notice in this instance and many other instances that the realization is the same or as close or closely related to the theme, which we talked about that being so important. Notice connecting those things. And I believe it's Drake, I've mentioned before, talks about how wonderfully Finding Nemo does that, weaving all of its plots around a single theme. Of course, other examples, the Hurt Locker. In the end, Sergeant James realizes what his only love is. The Prince of Tides, Tom Wingo, Nick Nolte, learns he wants to live with his family. And City Slickers, Mitch Robbins, Billy Crystal, finally figures out the meaning of life. In Finding Neverland, little Peter tells James Barry that Barry, is Peter Pan. The character fails to learn. Here, the character fails to learn what he or she needs to learn to be happy. In the plot, the character does not grow, but the audience learns the lesson. For example, the examples include War of the Roses, Goodfellas, and Raging Bull. In Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Butch and the Sundance figure out that they are in the wrong line of work and need to change with the times. I suppose you could argue, oh brother, where art thou? After all, even at the end, Everett, George Clooney, still wants to print up a dentist diploma and just get any old wedding ring for his wife. He's not very bright for someone who uses Dapper Dan pomade. A character declines. T.E. Lawrence in Lawrence of Arabia declines while striving to achieve a worthy goal. That's common for this particular plot category. There are other examples: Unforgiven, The Social Network, Citizen Kane, Memento, and If I May Supersize Me. In the beginning of The Godfather, Michael, the central character, is something of a patriot who doesn't want want to be part of the family business. In the end, he runs the family business, but his rise is also his decline. He becomes the Godfather, but at a cost. Oh, we've got some different opinions on Donnie Darko. PH says, in Donnie Darko, it's like we're peeling back the layers of reality and diving into the surreal. The movie is really makes you think about fate, time, and how our choices ripple through our lives. Oh, wow. It's one of those films that sticks with you, leaving you more questions than answers, and that's what makes it so fascinating. Well, now I'm really excited about it. In virtually all stories, there's the action plot and the emotion plot. At least emphasize the least emphasized of those is the main subplot. Everything else happens. The least emphasized of those is the main subplot. Everything else happens in the character's life as a subplot. In addition, each of the other main characters in the screenplay has his or her own plot with a goal, action, crisis, and resolution. Each of the other main characters has that. Goal, action, crisis, resolution. These are all subplots. Furthermore, each character's crisis may come at a different juncture in the script or may converge at the same crisis moment, depending on the story. The great secret to master plotting is to bring the various subplots and main plot together into the conflict. Yes. Often, if they hit together, if you can bring all of those to hit together, then you re-emphasize the theme every time it hits. In other words, most of the subplots should cross the central character's main purpose, creating complications. One purpose is this of the step outline is to design this. You should find the character action grid in book 3 to be helpful as well. Maybe I need to go through this workbook. I only have 2 more weeks. I'm running out of time. I'm bleeding time. I'm bleeding time as always. Genre. Another element to consider in plotting is genre. Each genre carries with it certain characteristics. I once saw a list of 72 genres and subgenres. In this section, we will discuss general categories. Love stories. In a rom-com, romantic comedy, the lovers meet, catalyst, are forced together, or willingly choose to be together, the big event, fall in love, midpoint, are separated, crisis, after which one or both will change in some way, reform, and return to the beloved, the showdown. Most often, this results in a character grows by doing the right thing plot. This category includes date movies, the term popularized by Nora Ephron's Sleepless in Seattle. In fact, in the film itself, guy movies are distinguished from chick flicks. A date movie is a movie that appeals to both guys and chicks. In the case of Sleepless in Seattle, women presumably see this as a love story, while men see a widowed father getting a second chance. Naturally, love stories do not have to be comedies or even light rom-coms, as in If Beale Street Could Talk, and there are examples of the traditional date movie structure in 500 Days of Summer. Action adventure. These stories usually open with an exciting action sequence followed by some exposition. Although they can be suspenseful, the key to this genre is exciting action. Make sure there's plenty of it. These stories generally follow the character wins plot and usually end with a chase or plenty of violence. William Martell, quoting Shane Black in the Scriptwriters Network newsletter, writes the following: The key to good action scenes is reversals. We talked about reversals here. There's also a great cover of Tears for Fears' Mad World. The more you seem to need to get done, the faster time bleeds. Yeah. Love stories. So the key to good action scenes is reversals. We talked about those. That's what you remember. It's like a good news, bad news joke. The bad news is you get thrown out of an airplane. The good news is you're wearing your parachute. The bad news is the ripcord breaks. The good news is you have a backup chute. The bad news is you can't reach the cord. Back and forth like that until the character reaches the ground. Love stories and action stories are probably the most consistently popular movies over time. I interviewed a successful children's book author who told me there are really only two kinds of basic stories. Cinderella, love story, is in Pretty Woman, and Jack the Giant Killer, action in Die Hard. Action story is in Die Hard. Thrillers. Thrillers focus on suspense more than action. In the thriller, an ordinary man or woman gets involved in a situation that becomes life-threatening. The bad guy desperately wants the MacGuffin, a name Hitchcock gave to the plot device or object that often drives the thriller. In North by Northwest, the MacGuffin is government secrets. In Charade, it's $250,000 in stamps. Although the characters are after the MacGuffin, the audience generally cares more about the survival of the central character than the MacGuffin. This is because she cannot get help, has been betrayed in some way, cannot trust anyone. Isolation, physical or social, is a powerful plot device. The primary motivation is one of survival, so there's not much of a character realization in the end. Many thrillers don't have a MacGuffin, but most feature a character who is betrayed, isolated from help, or in grave danger. That helps us to identify with her fears. More options. So it does seem everybody knows this one and wants to talk about it, though. So I guess that's what's going to make it a good one. Traveling Angel. This is a story about a character who solves the problems of the people around him. He doesn't grow much himself because he's perfect, but other characters do, and once they have done so, the angel rides off into the sunset. Both Mary Poppins films, featuring Mary herself, who is practically perfect in every way, Shane, the intern, The Pale Rider are examples. Percy in the Spitfire Grill redeems virtually everyone. In the case of the bishop's wife, the traveling angel is actually a traveling angel. In a way, Seabiscuit qualifies as the only horse to be a traveling angel. The other characters in the story heal because of Seabiscuit, although you would argue that Seabiscuit himself grows too. I've never actually heard this as a story category here. A traveling angel story. This is a story about a character who solves the problems of the people around him. I've seen Shane. That's been a long time. Detective mystery. The murder mystery opens with a murder. Then the police officer, private detective, or retired novelist solves the case. Since solving the case is primarily a mental exercise, there is often a voiceover narration so we can be privy to the central character's thoughts. If the central character is a private detective, he will usually be portrayed as one who operates on the fringes of the law, such as Jake Gets in Chinatown. Often, detectives uncover a small corruption that leads to a larger one. Many detective stories, like Chinatown, we talked about that one, how I need to see that one, contain elements of film noir. Oh, so we talked about that too. Film noir, right here. Film noir, literally black film, describes both a genre and a shooting style. All right, so here's what we got. Both a genre and a shooting style. Shadowy, cynical, and realistic, as well as a storyline that features ordinary people in over their heads, no hero and villains per se. So this is both a genre and a shooting style, shadowy, cynical, and realistic, as well as a storyline that features ordinary people in over their heads, no heroes and villains per se. In fact, there's usually a moral ambiguity, all right, even though there may be struggle between good and evil within the central characters. Stories often end unhappily. L.A. Confidential, The Usual Suspects, Touch of Evil, DOA, Basic Instinct, Pulp Fiction, Fargo, The Nice Guys, The Postman Always Rings Twice, Double Indemnity, and its offspring Body Heat. The Spitfire Grill was a real downer. That was under Traveling Angel. Mysteries and detective stories are very difficult to write, I find. Lynn says, anybody remember The Little Hobo? A whole TV series built around the traveling angel concept, except the angel is a dog. I do not remember that one. You don't say. No, you don't say. Fish out of water. This is a popular genre because it creates so much potential for conflict and fun. A character is abruptly taken out of her element and forced to adjust to a new environment. Thus, Detective John Kimball, Arnold Schwarzenegger, becomes a kindergarten teacher in Kindergarten Cop. And Detective Axel Foley goes to 90210 in Beverly Hills Cop. In 3 Men and a Baby, 3 Peter Pans suddenly must care for a baby. Private Benjamin could be pitched as Jewish American princess joins the army. I must mention The Shape of Water. It's possible to see both Elsa and Amphibian Man as out of their elements. Horror. Scary movies differ from the thriller in that the opposition is a monster or a monster-like human or supernatural force. This genre leans heavily on shock and suspense. Examples include Jaws, The Conjuring, Scream, and The Ring. This horror film, Alien, relies heavily on surprise, but its sequel, Aliens, was wisely written as an action-adventure story. I wish we talked about that on one of the general geekdoms. I need to clip that, and I need to put that over there on the Table Talk channel. About the difference between Alien and Aliens. Instead of scaring us, James Cameron thrills us with exciting action. Naturally, there are horror elements in Aliens, but the focus of the movie is on action. A Quiet Place has more character development and heart than your typical horror movie. The same goes for Get Out. Science fiction. We have Star Trek, Star Wars, Maze Runner, Ready Player One, Ender's Game, and a host of others. The point is that many science fiction movies take on the characteristics of another genre and move it to another world or time. He didn't specifically say fantasy here. Combos. Yes, Alien and Aliens are science fiction movies, but the horror and action-adventure genres dominate in each respective case. Thus, we have hybrid genres, horror sci-fi and action sci-fi. Back to the Future is a fantasy family drama or sci-fi comedy. Back to the Future is a fantasy family drama or sci-fi comedy or a combination of all four. Or is it a fish out of water story when he drops into 1955 culture? So maybe that film is actually sci-fi fantasy fish out of water family comedy. I don't know The Maze Runner. Oh, that James says that book solidly nails film noir in its description. In many films, there's a secondary genre, such as some of the science fiction films named. Some are combination genres, such as horror comedy, Western sci-fi, and historical horror. Obviously, there are many genres, combinations of genres, and genres I haven't named. Revisionist ecologist Western, revisionist ecological Western, such as Dances with Wolves, screwball comedy, Bringing Up Baby and What's Up, Doc, historical epic, 7 Years in Tibet, Lawrence of Arabia, buddy picture, Midnight Rum, Milieu, Alice in Wonderland, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, and The Lord of the Rings, action romance, Romancing the Stone, and so on. Once you choose your genre, watch several representative films and read scripts. This is not to research your story, but to learn more about what makes that genre works. Myth. Well, this would be interesting. PH says The Little Hobo was a Canadian show based on an oldest TV show from the 50s or 60s. I don't remember. I believe it was called Le Vagabond. Myth. Beyond genre and plot is myth. In any story you write, it may help you to understand the mythological journey. The hero's journey is presented by Joseph Campbell and explained by Christopher Vogler, follows a particular pattern that may be woven into the fabric of any story, regardless of its genre. Many stories contain elements of the mythological journey, while a few, like episodes 4 through 6 of Star Wars, The Polar Express, Wonder Woman, and The Wizard of Oz, can be called myths because the central character passes through each stage, or nearly each stage, of the hero's journey. Briefly, these are the main stages of the hero's journey. The hero lives amid ordinary surroundings. For Wonder Woman, it's the Amazon island. That's the ordinary world for her. The catalyst is actually a call to adventure, but the hero is reluctant to heed the call. This could be the moment when the hero receives her mission. She is given an amulet or aid of some kind by an older person, a mentor. For example, Dorothy is given the ruby red slippers by the Good Witch. Luke is given the lightsaber by Obi-Wan. Birdie is given a recording of his voice in the King's Speech by the speech therapist. Many stories feature mentors: Sean McGuire, Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting, the train conductor in the Polar Express, and Agent K, Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black. In Lord of the Rings, Frodo is mentored by Gandalf. Wonder Woman is trained by Antiope, I guess. Antiope? But in the extraordinary world, Steve becomes a kind of mentor. If there's an amulet, is a weapon or armor from Atlantis and Steve's wisdom in the extraordinary world. The central character crosses the threshold, because we've talked about this all kinds a lot. The central character crosses the threshold to the extraordinary world. For Wonder Woman, the extraordinary world is the ordinary world and World War I. This is followed by a series of tests and obstacles. Wonder Woman spends most of the movie fighting the darkness in humankind. The hero often undergoes a death experience and enters the secret hideout, the witch's castle, the Death Star, the belly of the whale, the speaking booth, the King's Speech, the German castle where the poison gas is produced, Wonder Woman, or the innermost cave. Finally, the hero seizes the treasure and is chased back to the ordinary world, where this treasure blesses the people. Yeah, well, thank you. Yes, check out the online store. I've got the cultist. Oh, I've got Witch's Brew this morning, but I've got the Witch's Brew logo mug this morning, but it's over there. Excellent coffee mugs for cultist coffee in the morning. Let's see. Finally, the hero seizes the treasure and is chased back to the ordinary world, where this treasure blesses the people. The Grail heals the land. The Polar Express, the little reindeer bell, confirms the spirit of Christmas to all who hear it ring. In Wonder Woman, the treasure is love. The only love can save this world. The hero may be resurrected in some way. Luke and Han are honored at an awards ceremony. Dorothy returns to her family. The Last Starfighter. Oh, The Last Starfighter. Remember The Last Starfighter? That was one from, I was told as a kid, oh, you got to watch this one because you like Star Wars. So we did watch The Last Starfighter quite a few times. Let's see who else here in the chat remembers that one. It was a arcade game, right? There was an arcade game that if you could beat, then they would take you to actually be a sci-fi starfighter in a galactic war. Oscar Schindler is honored in a ring ceremony, and the king, in the King's Speech, is congratulated by all and appears to his people on the balcony. The resurrection almost always corresponds to the realization, the last of the Magnificent Seven plot points. Wonder Woman is resurrected when she accepts her role and defeats the god Ares. James says The Last Starfighter is great. I tend to go here. The Last Starfighter was okay. We watched it quite a few times. It was okay. It was okay. Memorable because it's a childhood film. We all had that one on VHS, but not Star Wars. Yeah, Mike says, yeah, I was disappointed to never find the game at the arcade. JDM says, Last Starfighter was pretty cool. Don't remember it too well, but remember liking it. I think one of the things that I remember, of course, he's the last starfighter, so everybody else is blown up, and he has to use this experimental starfighter that's equipped with this, I forget what they called the weapon, but that to me was a weak point, is that he pushes this button and is able to blow up a whole bunch of the enemy fighters, which I always wanted that even as a kid to be better. That that's a weak point of the movie, which I think is why we say that it's okay. James says, I loved it as a kid. I'm sure my tastes have changed. I'm looking at through nostalgia. Yeah, I'm think the Death Blossom was the weapon. Enemy Mine. I don't know that one. Right, yeah, exactly. Which makes the ship spin around really fast and shoot in every direction at once. And that was kind of the lame end to that. Enemy, I don't know Enemy Mine. Enemy Mine. 1985. During a war between humans and the reptilian Drac race, spaceship pilot Willis Davidge ends up stranded on an alien world along with an enemy fighter, Jerba Shagan. Huh. PH says, I loved that as a kid as well. I'll never watch it again. So it's still great. Oh, BGD is also a big fan of Enemy Mine. Enemy Mine starred Louis Gossett Jr. and Daniel Quaid. Very good. A marooned odd couple in space. Enemy Mine is beautiful. I cry every time. Whoa. Well, maybe I ought to put this. Maybe I ought to put that one on my list too over here. Talking about getting things done, watching and reading things. You know, I was trying to read a little bit every day, but sometime like, all right, all we're doing today is reading and watching movies. Years ago, I read Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious by Carl Jung. We should probably get into that deeply sometime. I didn't pay that book much heed until I became acquainted with the hero's journey. I looked at a script I had written before I studied Jung and realized that my hero followed the steps of the hero's journey. Many of the archetypes were there, such as the hero, mentor, ally, trickster, and shapeshifter. Wow, obviously there is something to this collective unconsciousness. We talk about that a lot, and we're talking about archetypes and storytelling and story structure here. As a writer, you may have heard or felt a call to action, a call to write, but hesitated. You must heed the call. As you struggle, as you learn, as you write, you may very well walk the path of the next hero, overcome obstacles, gain allies, and become the next great screenwriter. The hero's journey may very well become your personal odyssey. Now might be a good time to do steps 1, 2, and 3 in the workbook. Well, let's see what those are. The workbook is book 3. That's book 4, the formatting guide. Let's just see what this is. What time is it? Making the necessary revisions. It's book 3. Put that there. Let's see. So 7 steps to a stunning script is what the workbook is. About this workbook takes you through the 7 steps of the writing process. I've tried to make it simple and easy to follow. Each step is marked with checkpoints to keep you on track. In all, there are 26 checkpoints and more than 150 key questions to help you evaluate your progress. Not every question needs to be answered. Not every checkpoint needs to be reviewed in the order it's presented. These are not hard and fast rules, but fluid guidelines to help you craft a stunning script. In fact, many writers like to begin the process by developing their characters. If you're one of those, you may want to do step 4 before step 2 and 3. Some writers allow the steps to overlap. Adopt the process to your needs. This workbook becomes a more effective tool if you studied books 1 and 2 first and have the nascent concept for your script. Take a moment to congratulate yourself. You're embarking on a great journey. I hope you enjoy the adventure of creating the movie people and plotting the events of their lives. May success and fulfillment be yours. Oh, look, summon your muse. Stephen Pressfield would approve. BGD says, reading is doing research. Watching movies is doing research. Playing RPGs is doing research. Yes, it's true. If you want to write for any of these media. Let's see. Well, so summoning your muse. So I just like, what is this part right here? The writing process. Step 2, dream up your movie idea. Wait, here's some here's some questions. God, I didn't know it would go into this. Like, number 1 over here is put your mind in a relaxed state through meditation or deep breathing or some other method. Visualize a natural setting where you feel safe or drift off to the setting of your script. The right brain, the inner creator, always works best when the left brain, the inner critic, has been tranquilized. I did not know we were going in this direction with this book. So checkpoint 1. How solid is your story, idea, premise, or concept? Is it naturally inspiring or just average, requiring perfect execution in the script? Checkpoint 2. Do you have a working title that inspires you? Will this title titillate the audience, or is it a grabber? Checkpoint 3. Imagine how your movie will be advertised. Then on a sheet of paper, sketch out the poster for your movie. What's the tagline or logline? Is there a striking image that will stop passersby? Step 3. Develop your core story. At Pixar, the idea development often starts with this formula. It says, once upon a time, there was blank. Every day, blank. One day, blank. Because of that, blank. And because of that, blank. Until finally, blank. I'll start that. I got red pens in, by the way. This may be a good time to review the chapter Situation, Conflict, and Resolution and the flow of the story in Book 1. I'll quickly review the Magnificent 7 plot points using How to Train Your Dragon as an example. I like How to Train Your Dragon as an example. I know, it does. It does. Sable Phoenix says, it almost sounds like he's telling you to go from whence you dream. Yes. Now it's interesting that we're seeing that in a lot of different places. We got Pressfield. Pressfield, talks about that. This guy does. Who's this? Trottier. David Trottier. So develop your core story. Checkpoint 4, checkpoint 5. Checkpoint 4, write a log line or concept statement or brief outline for your story. Who is the main character? Checkpoint 5, identify the parameters of your story. Checkpoint 6, checkpoint 7. Step 4, create your movie people. Your central character wants something specific. That something is the goal. The character who is conscious of this desire strives for it throughout the story. Of course, the character is opposed by at least one person. Checkpoint 6. Does your central character have the following? An outside goal or series of goals the audience will care about. A powerful personal motivation for achieving the goal. Hey, please do hit the like button if you're here. I know the liking things helps push the streams out to more people. So please do hit the like button if you're here. It'd be a big help. Andrew says, Enemy Mine was fun, at least from what I remember. Probably not seen it in 30 years. Pixar is also not afraid to trash what they made. The behind the scenes of Zootopia was interesting to see how much it changed over time. Are the pens gel rollers? Yes, they're the gel pens. That's exactly what I like too. We got checkpoints about all of our people. Step 5, step out of your story. Outline your story. This is where you discover whether your story is going to work or not, or at least get a good idea if it is. For many writers, the outline is their first step after they get an idea. This outlining effort will make the actual writing much easier than it would ordinarily be. Of course, the outline is never written in stone. It may be simple or complex, blah, blah, blah. Okay, checkpoint 16, 17, 18. Step 6, write your first draft. That's a big step. Checkpoint 19. Consider doing the following upon completion of the first draft. Take at least 2 weeks off from your script. Let it ferment for a while. You'll be much more objective in the pre-revision analysis. Checkpoints 20 through 24. During this time, you may want to read a book, go to a seminar, see movies of the same genre, or read scripts, or turn your attention to your, I don't know this word, MACRAME. That is a form of textile produced using knotting rather than weaving or knitting techniques. Okay, so an intentional non sequitur right here. Reward yourself in some way that makes you feel good about being the next screenwriter. May I suggest chicken cordon bleu followed by a bowl of Rocky Road ice cream? Make the necessary revisions is step 7. Writing is rewriting, so let the rewriting begin. Here you become a script surgeon or your own script consultant. Use your head as well as your heart during the remaining drafts. Whittle down the dialogue, remove unnecessary narration, flashbacks, dream sequences, and so on. You become an analyst in every way you can define that word, and you remain open to inspiration. Once this work is complete, polish your script until you are ready to present your wonder to Hollywood or other markets. The following checkpoints will help you evaluate any of your drafts. Checkpoint 20, review checkpoints 1 through 19. The checkpoints are intended to help you evaluate your script. Not all may apply for your project. Checkpoint 21. The script itself. Is your script too technical, too complex, too intellectual, or too difficult to understand? Will your script require a huge budget requiring extensive special effects, period settings, exotic locations, too many areas or locations, a large cast, water, and live non-CGI animals? Check 22, dialogue. Checkpoint 23, exposition. Checkpoint 24, character and story. Checkpoint 25, revising tips. Sometimes it just doesn't work. When you have story problems, character problems, and you're not quite sure how to solve them. When you're blocked or you have a sense of something is wrong, what can you do? The following dozen tips are in no particular order. 1, don't panic. We all go through this. Realize that you have the ability to solve your problems. Relax and call upon your creative muse. 2, take some time off. Go to Disneyland and let the script breathe for a couple of weeks. Don't worry about it. You may get inspiration during this period because you are relaxed and having fun. Let go of control. Be open to new ideas. Read a book, go to a seminar, flick out. A few of my breakthroughs have come on a plane while reading a book about writing. Read scripts. Analyze stories you like. What works? Also evaluate stories and scenes you hate. What are the problems? Oh, lots of stuff here on revising tips. The character action grid. Character action grid, character and story. So, for example, character, role, occupation, goal, motive, need, flaw for each of these characters. And as far as the workbook goes, we actually have this breaking down right over here. James says, this book was originally published in 1994. Butler's From Where You Dream was 2005. I bet Olin Butler read this book and also likely on writing from King, who also discusses waking sleep state. And in 2000. Honestly, I'd love to know Olin Butler's influences. Macrame. Mike says, almost reads like juggling for dummies. Lesson 1, drop the balls. Now pick them up. Repeat several times and get used to it. You'll be doing it often. Not thought of that in a long time. Reminds me of those old Hookcraft rugs. You had a metal tool and fed colored strings into a template to make a rug. Latch hook maybe was the term. Yeah, I remember that too. James says, read scripts and watch movies should probably be the #1 thing recommended. So we've got character grid, action, story, title, genre, concept, theme or message, characters, role, purpose, and story, occupation, conscious goal, personal motivation, inner need, flaw, blocking need, backstory, dominant core trait, other good or bad traits, imperfections, quirks, skills, knowledge, props, point of view, attitudes. This grid allows you to see 4 characters at a glance. Character action grid, character and story. This allows you to develop a single character. Character action grid, actions. This grid is good for focusing on actions, who does what, and how that influences other characters. So that's book 3 as a quick run through. So 7 about this workbook, 7 steps to a stunning script. That's that section of this book. And then book 4 then goes into proper formatting technique. What time is it? I've been kind of shortening this to an hour. You know, sometimes like we were doing RPGs, we were going for an hour and a half, but I've kind of been shortening this to an hour because I need the extra time because I've been working on a whole bunch of stuff. Sable says, not sure if Robert Olin Butler would read this book because screenplays are mostly genre fiction and he's a literature snob. He might have skipped King's on writing for the same reason. Huh. He vocally derides King and From Where You Dream, but I bet he's but I bet he'd at least have read King's advice to be so vocal. I would think, I would hope, but maybe not. Huh. All right. Well, all right. So I've got to get back to it. I got to get everything ready for tomorrow. So tomorrow, I mean, we'll still look at some of the things, but tomorrow the big thing is we're launching Goodnight Sword on Indiegogo. Please do like the stream. JDM says, interesting stream. Thanks for the motivation to get my own work done. That's exactly what we're doing here. That's exactly it. The morning grind, always kind of like a pep rally. I always get inspired after. It's like, man, either by reading something else that somebody's done or something like this. Let's do our work. Let's do our work. Thank you. Please do like the stream. Everybody, be constructive, be creative, and grind on. Later.